CM and the owner then sit down and open those bids and review them. Every number is completely shared with the owner. And sometimes you may or may not pick the low guy because you find out, well, if they didn't include this, you can put it in red, blinking, big low letters and they'll still leave it out.
Just two adds to that. You can assign a subcontractor under CM to the contract working with the CM at risk. So if you have a parishioner who is in a trade that you want to include and you bid the package and you can either assign it to him or put him in the bidders list, and you don't have to take the low bidder. As you said, it's an open book process, so you can select as an owner with the CM who you want to use for specific trade projects.
Yes, one of the early questions that ought to be asked is, do you have any parishioners that you want to bid this? And then when they say yes, say, now let's define what that means. If they are 5% high, do you still want to use them?
Right.
You know?
And they still should be pre-qualified.
Yes.
Yeah, but to his point is, there is a construction, the traditional CM is where that guy's independent and the owner is dealing with himself.
yeah,
So
and
that's a construction.
That is CM agency.
Right,
Where
it's different, they call it CM, right?
CM agency, that's what that is.
Correct.
I get huge red flags.
Yeah, I don't want to be in contract with those guys.
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is establish a building committee, and here are some of my thoughts on what that are, the roles that ought to be covered. You need a gatekeeper, sort of just somebody that can bring out those folks that are quiet, that really can listen and understand the dynamics of that committee and get good conversations going. Somebody that keeps the pontificator from not dominating the meeting. I think you need one really big, audacious visionary. I don't care if you're building a doghouse for the parish secretary. I really think you need one. And here's why, because as Einstein said, 90% of solving a problem is defining it. And so often I see that we go solve the wrong problem. And there needs to be a lot of conversation about what are the real problems that we're trying to solve here. And they may not be apparent. And you need the nut sometimes to throw out an idea that gets conversation going. The audacious visionary, I'm not saying it's a nut, but you need that kind of conversation going on. You also need an accountant type that can kind of pair with that guy. And between the accountant and the gatekeeper, the nut can do whatever they want to. You need somebody that is preferably a contractor that isn't going to do the work. Maybe it's too big for him or whatever. And a designer. That would be ideal. You need somebody that works in that facility that's going to work in it. If it's a school, you need the principal on that committee. You might need the janitor to come in and talk about a few things, but you need the people that are really going to day-to-day live in that school. And again, all this is on handouts. You need young and old people, and you just need kind of plain old business folks. So I think that's a critical and important. And the first order of business is to look at the big picture needs of that project and be willing to dream. The most important decisions that are ever made on a building project are the ones that are made very early in the game. Sometimes they are decisions that are crucial and they are made and you don't even realize that you just made a decision. You know, they can be so subtle. But they set the path for what's getting ready to happen. And I'm going to give you all an example of that in just a minute. Then set the overall, make sure that the overall budget covers everything. Don't leave out the FF&E, the soft cost, and the move-in expense. Make sure that the building committee understands that budget thoroughly. Now here's an example of trying to solve the wrong problem. There was an immediate need. These quotes are from the principal of the school, and she needed them. By God, it was getting tight. They had a trailer that was leaking. They got little tiny kids running around. In Georgia, we call them young youngins, and they were running everywhere, so to speak. And she needed to solve that preschool problem. However, they backed up. The parents backed up. They did spend a little bit more money, maybe 20% more money, but they got so much more. The extra money from the preschool project, what they ended up with, was so welcomed by the parents, it energized the whole parish, and they gave more willingly. Now, look at this quote here. It's a very lofty type quote. Her language shifted from very specific to something that's almost so lofty that you wonder, what's going on here. But these lofty goals translated into a set of objectives that I'm going to cover in a minute. But they started out, and all they could see was the immediate need for a preschool. And so this is in an inner city neighborhood, a little street that runs right here. There's two-way traffic here, and that was the only way to get in and out. They had a lot down here that was off the beaten path, and then we're going to do two-way traffic right there. So the preschool down here, have a pretty good way to walk between the preschool and the existing school. They had these sort of outlier buildings that were not tied together in any way. They had a convent, a church, and a 100-year-old preschool that was a wonderful architecture that Mother Catherine Drexel, who is now St. Catherine Drexel, had designed by a Philadelphia architect and went very well. They were going to build a modern standing seam roof. What's the standard color of that gray? That green that everybody uses on school buildings? That's what it was going to be. And they had a sea of asphalt everywhere. But by now the problem was we got to build a preschool. So the nut, the audacious folks came in and said, we've got to change. She came up with these principles or thought processes as to what she wanted. The building committee then converted that into some specifics of what they needed to do. They wanted a warm place. They wanted a sanctuary. They wanted to make you feel warm when you stepped out of a terrible inner city neighborhood with crack houses all around. They wanted you to feel safe in this place. So they then translated the lofty goals, and instead of, wait a minute. So here's what they ended up doing. And I didn't want to make this view look prettier than that other one. So, but there's one-way traffic in here. There's sidewalks. These are 3- and 4-year-old kids walking over this place. You're not going to walk on a sea of asphalt. They then moved the preschool down closer to this school, and they containerized everything, added lots of places for nice landscaping, added security all the way around the building, and they had a cohesive campus. So you went from a building, a preschool that was going to look like that, to a preschool that looks like this. This is the preschool. You can't really see this because of the lights, but this is the 100-year-old school that it sort of mimicked. That's the convent across the way. The architecture blends in. You've got opportunities for landscaping. You've got security fence all the way around the project. And then where they had some architectural problems, they solved them. This is a covered walk between the two buildings. And then they were able to look at issues that they hadn't even thought about before. Like, what are we going to do with our sea of asphalt? And this is taken from inside the campus, looking out to the inner city neighborhood across the street. two-way traffic, no sidewalks. And that's the same picture. So you got landscaping, and if you're in that neighborhood, y'all know what Sacred Heart statue looks like, from the right side. If you're in that neighborhood and you see Jesus like this, welcome you in. So then, places like this where they were dealing with uninvited locations, they wanted to make you feel welcome. So come sit on that porch. That's the difference. And it didn't take a whole lot to do it. This did not cost all that much more money. But those are two nice rockers right there. And they get used a good bit. Then you had unsightly places like this. I'm going to show you a picture here, and then in a minute I'll show you one as you go through this. But a little bit of hiding and screening, can make an uninviting place much more inviting. This is a case where, what else do I need to say? Horrible conduit all over everywhere, because the mindset of this school before, our parish, was let's fix the immediate problem. We've got a problem because we need power to an air conditioner. Send somebody out there and put it wherever. We've got a problem because we need a preschool. So let's put in a preschool. Doesn't make any difference. If it creates other problems, and also creates a sort of negative mindset among the parish. So then that's what it looks like now. A lot of the conduit is gone. The electrical that couldn't go away got screened, and then the screening in front of the brickwork. So that is to me the real goodie of a CM process, or a teamwork process. It can be design build, but typically it's a teamwork process. So that creativity came out of the owner and the architect and the contractor pooling their brains and coming up with an answer. So once you go through that, back to on a selected delivery method, we've sort of gone through that, admittedly very hurriedly, and then do a lot of homework. So let's spend some time talking about what that homework really means. To surprise, everything that I'm talking about could apply to a designer or a constructor, and you're going to get homework and references everywhere you can possibly get them up. So visit folks' websites in the first order of business, learn about what they want to present as their company. If you end up having them come interview, then compare what they're telling you specifically against what they tell the world on their website and see if there are any disagreements there. Again, excuse me, all of this applies to both the contractor and the designer. Ask the designers about the contractors. Ask the contractors about the designers. Find out who previous clients are. Find out who are the respected subcontractors in the area and ask them, what do you think of this contractor? And get the ones that are not on the proposed team's list of references. Try to get beyond those. And then make sure that you right-size both the designer and the contractor for your project. So here are some few questions to ask specifically about a designer. Obviously, what's your experience? How complete is the drawing? Subcontractors will tell you how complete a set of plans are. And I can tell you if the reputation of that designer is that his plans aren't complete, you're paying for it in increased fees. I frankly think that most designers are underpaid. Design fees over the last 50 years have come down a point or two, and if that point or two could be translated into better drawings, I think the owner would come out well ahead. But we are where we are, so you can only ask how complete are these plans? How are mistakes handled? And a folks a team player, because if you're not a team player, it's going to come around and bite you. It's going to bite the owner some kind of way. So questions about the constructor. Again, experience. How does a constructor organize his work? I would particularly ask this of trade contractors. If I'm a painter and I'm told by the project superintendent, you show up on the job next Thursday, and I come in next Thursday and there's trash all over everywhere, there's sheetrock that hasn't even been hung yet, there's plenty of rooms that just aren't, it's just not finished, it's not ready to go, the job is not organized. If that's the reputation that I have as a general contractor, the painting contractors are going to know that, and they're going to price the job accordingly. It costs me more to work for contractor A than it does for contractor B, so my prices don't reflect that. So you want to know which contractors are organized. You certainly want to know if contractors pay their bills. Again, if a contractor is a late pay guy, then he's not going to get preferred pricing. And that lack of preferred pricing is going to reflect in his price to you. How a change order is handled, how a back charge is handled. And I covered, is the job ready when people are called to come to it. And here's another example of what can go wrong. This is the CM and agency situation. This is a case where the parish went to a convention and selected a fundraiser / designer / CM and agency. Yes. you got that right. And they went through a design process, and we were involved in this job. I got a call from one of the members of the building committee, and he said, I don't know much about what's going on, but something smells bad, and will you come down here? I went a town south of where we live, and I said, I'll be delighted to. I'll come as a friend of the bishop, because this committee had been meeting with this fundraiser / designer for well over a year, and they had a real relationship with him, and I didn't want to step into a body hole. But the real short version of the story is that they went ahead against our recommendation and continued along that line. They bid this job out. It came in $2 million over the budget. It came in at $8.5 million. And the fundraiser had raised $6 million. And that's really what they had spent. And then when we saw it, when I look at this, I say, there's a leak, and there's a leak. That whole thing's going to be a leak. And you got a 12-12 pitch, you can never get up to maintain it. And you've got these things sort of all over everywhere. And this thing is just going to be a complete and utter mess. When they got the $8 million number, then they realized they didn't have any choice but to do something. And we right-sized the architect for the job. A great fit. And so instead of that building, they ended up with this building. This building has got 50 more square feet in it than the original job. It has 50 less leaks in it, at least, in my opinion, than the original job. Therefore, I think it's much more functional. And on the inside, they got every single thing they wanted. They got a very nice church. They have lots of stained glass windows in it. And again, they just got what they wanted. So this is a case where a good team can really, really, really make a difference. We saw the same problem they defined, but solved it in a teamwork approach. And this is the, I just like this picture because it's the path to